Morning, everyone. I hope you are doing well. So, welcome to the 17th lecture of Power BI. Most probably, this is one of the most important lectures or the topics which I personally wanted to cover. Many of you might get a job as a business analyst or a data analyst, but as a fresher, I I would generally suggest you some key pointers which you need to keep in mind while working on Power BI, and also certain general handy approaches, some mistakes which I did as a business analyst, and I do not want that these mistakes you cover when you start your job. So basically, there are around 11 pointers, although as per each and every person may have a different experience in Power BI, but the 11 common things which I experienced, I want to share with you. When you learn how to make a dashboard, you will be assigned to a client workspace. Now, a workspace is something as similar to as a Google Drive or Google Workspace, but in Power BI service, it happens that when you log in to the client server, each client has its own server. Wherever you will publish your report, it will show to your server as well as from the client server. So both of you will be able to access. Now, when you publish the dashboard, you will be required to give login access to access to the dashboard, because once the client is able to log in, he will only be able to access if you provide it from your end. Also, you can specify the number of users or the concerned users who will have access to the report or the dashboard. So one thing, the Power BI workspace I wanted to introduce you. Next thing is the change of file name in workspace. Now, how is it important that you do not change the name of the file in the client workspace or whichever workspace it is? It happens that through SharePoint or when you publish the dashboard directly, it gets synced to the ID of the user. And in an organization, it might happen that uh, that ID or that dashboard is accessed by around millions of employees all over the globe. If you change the dashboard name, it will break the the content access, and it can hamper your job on a very large scale due to loss of data leak and escalation. This is a personal experience while when I started my work as a business analyst, I did this mistake. So never uh, change the dashboard name for your convenience in the Power BI workspace. If it is published, it is published. You can make change in the offline dashboard. It might not make a difference, but never do it when you are performing the name change in on the online version. That can hamper to a huge level. Next point is the save and don't save. What happens is that when you go to file, and you save the current report and save as like a normal we do as a desktop file save or a presentation save. However, if you have made the changes and you didn't click on save and you directly went here, and it will ask you to do you want to save your changes. If you clicked on save, it will directly publish the report to the client server. Supposedly, if your report is in draft and you want that you only publish the report after it is completed. So what you can do is click on save or save as, and when you're closing the report, you can click on don't save. That can save your file, but not publish to the client server. So that is one important thing. Else, it might happen that you might not click on save and you uh, click don't save from here, and next day when you come in, whole of your 8 hours work is gone, like completely refreshed. So it is advisable that whenever you perform any task, after a few minutes, you keep on clicking on save, so it gets refreshed simultaneously, and by the next day when you log in, you can continue. The next thing is update license. What is this update license? When you work in an organization, you won't be working on a Power BI free version like we are doing here. There you will get your own login access and the ID for Power BI Pro version. You won't be required to pay the premium fees for the Power BI lessons. That will be done by your company. So what happens is that in Pro license, there are certain visuals which you import through here. Either get more visuals or you import a visual from any different file. So in Pro version, every Pro requires a credential ID and a license key. Once you update that license key, that Pro version access will keep on continuing. It might happen that if the Pro license gets expired and your report is published, and if you use any visual which has the Pro license, it will show an error to the client that our credential ID is working fine. However, we are getting this message that update your Pro license. We have seen these scenarios in my last company that even after the license was updated and there was no server problem, still the client was getting this issue. So you will get to know how to update license as right now we are in a free version, we don't need to worry about it. The next thing is do not use cross report. Now, why is it important? Out of all these 11 points, this is the most important, yet I would say the most dangerous point. You see here above the keep all filters button, it is the cross report. Now, cross report, what happens is that when you use a certain measure or a certain column, it might happen that you need to copy the same DAX function into uh, another report for any other client, and you by mistake clicked on cross report. Now what has happened? You get an email from the client that why is this client XYZ data is coming in my report. Now the data has got shared cross report shares the data between the client's report, and this can cause to escalation and data confidentiality issues. If you are using a particular measure for one client for a different calculation, and the same measure is used by some other client for some other calculation, but both of them are similar or using the same functions. So always keep it off. Now the next point is publishing the report directly to Power BI service versus publishing on SharePoint. Due to data safety, a company generally prefers not to directly publish to the client server, but publishing it via an application called SharePoint. That gives them the flexibility to keep the data on our server rather than giving it completely to the client. We take the ownership to and maintain the dashboard, make changes to it, and through SharePoint, it is like more safe. 7 point is never delete columns from backend. When you get the data from the client, the ETL team or the extract transform load, which the team which fetches the data from the client server to their server and then push it to your dashboard or to your server. I would not advise to delete these columns from the backend, because if these reports are deleted from your end, and if you do it online, in the online version, the data, like 10 years data, 15 years data, might get deleted within seconds due to your one mistake, not only from your end, but from the client end. So that can cause like millions of dollars losses, and that data is irrecoverable. So no matter what happens, until and unless you consult a senior business analyst or any supervisor, never you can make changes to the like formatting changes, but never delete the data from backend, because the ETL team won't be able to push it again. Now, uh, the next one is always keep a duplicate copy of your dashboard. When you make your dashboard and when you save it to either the virtual machine of yours or the server of the client, it might happen that Power BI might get crashed. And generally, if the data load is very high, it can take up to hour or 2 hours to get refreshed. So always keep a duplicate copy of your dashboard, and once the data is fine working, like the previous dashboard gets recovered, you can continue uh, in the new file using the measures and columns which were stuck there, and from the next file you can continue working from that. So, sometimes if the server gets crashed, even your Power BI won't work. Next thing is keeping a change tracker and buffer for each task. In a on a production level, you might be using project management tools like Monday Tracker, where you create the client requests, update the number of hours you worked on, uh, So that sort of changes you make there. Apart from that, you keep a separate Excel file maintained that on this date, my client asked me to do this particular task. My approach was this. What was the result? Where we got stuck. So at times, your client themselves might deny that we never uh, forwarded this request or this development request to you. However, keeping everything as an analyst documented changes can prevent issues or conflicts during your time as well as the clients. If you are working on a particular task and you are assigned a new request, always give a client a tentative date and not an exact date so that both of the tasks keep getting worked on simultaneously, and you allocate a certain time for each task so that if one task is working, in the meantime you switch over to the other task and take a follow up and proceed that thing forward. This will prevent you time, and as well as you will be able to meet the client deadlines. The next point is you need to always validate the data after scheduled Power BI refreshes. When you specify a particular time as per the UTC time or the IST time, a scheduled automatic Power BI refresh. Once the data is imported and the refreshes are done, you need to validate the data sent by the client uh, on a weekly basis or by the end of the day. This is very important because at times the client might get wrong information. So checking Power BI refreshes on a weekly basis or a daily basis, it is generally advisable. The last thing is that you always need to keep a balanced approach after considering various options from all BI resources. Now, when you get a request from client, you document it and you scope it out. After that, when you pass it to the BI team, always ask their opinion because they are the one who need to write the business intelligence logics or the tax functions. Each BI person will have a different approach. Like supposedly, if someone says we should add a so and so condition, while the client will click on it and this sort of output will come. Another BI resource means that mention only two conditions, but they should take lesser load. So both of the approaches are okay as per them, and then you need to finalize which approach you would adopt and how you can better adjust it to the client requirement. As I checked with uh, other people, they are offering trainings on Power BI, and some people are also mentioning that they got a business analyst job, but very rare that I personally found that what mistakes an experienced person does so that he could let the other person know and save their time and effort. So I thought that it is more important to cover this part, as you might get to learn these things on a practical scenario. When you will get to the production floor, this will be real experience. In the next lecture, we will be learning once our dashboard is completed, how can we export it to PDF? Okay, thank you.